to see you. Tonight we will be doing a little lo-fi, soft-spoken bookshelf tour. As some of you already know, this first bookshelf I'm going to show you is just one bookshelf, but it is my bookshelf filled with all of my favorites, no books of my partners. If you're interested in seeing other bookshelves in my house, then you can find that video later this week on my Patreon. Info down below. In the meantime, we will focus on the best bookshelf in the house. This is just a little reading table by my reading chair. Here's Debbie. And then the bookshelf itself is over here next to this rubber tree. I'll give you a little overview and then we'll get into it shelf by shelf. I'm going to do my best to hold the camera steady. If you've been here before, you'll recognize some of these books, but I did just reorganize the whole thing, so it's a little bit different. The first shelf has my absolute favorites. So we have The Creative Act by Rick Rubin, great book for any kind of creative, and then mostly fiction. Drive Your Plow, Rebecca, a classic. Copenhagen Trilogy is, I believe, a memoir, and it's dark and excellent. Second Place, Milkman, The Idiot. And Hyper Objects here is Theory. Back to Fiction, My Heart Hemmed In, Giovanni's Room, Cold Enough for Snow. Then in Delicacy is a new book that recently was moved from the second shelf to the first. She graduated. I've just been really thinking about it a lot lately, and it is one of my favorites. Some more Theory, Ontology of the Accident. Self-Portrait in Green is a kind of artistic memoir, but Marie Nadaye is one of my favorite writers ever. Two Cities, memoir, A Horse at Night, kind of just someone talking talking about reading. And here is some Chinese literature and some myth book stuff that I really love. More than anything, Dialogues in Paradise by San Shui, Strange Tales from a Chinese Studio, is also really great. They are very short stories, very old stories that are told in this tradition that is particular to China of strangeness, like the Zhiguai. Chuangzi is beautiful. Anyone going through a big life transition would do well to read this book. The Woman Warrior is excellent. Ta Te Ching is poetry, beautiful. And then two myth books. It's been a while since I read them, so I can't remember which one I like more. Here is my plant. Last year he went down so much further, but he got kind of out of control, so I gave him a little trim and he's getting there. Alright, this is, let me check. Yes, exclusively fiction. Also really good, just not a favorite per se, but either or. The sequel to The Idiot is phenomenal. The Collected Stories of Amy Hempel, phenomenal. In the Dream House, The Memory Police, The Third Hotel, lots of sort of spooky books, you might be able to tell. Florida, I Hold the Wolf, My Phantoms was a new read this year for me. The Outline Trilogy by Rachel Cusk. Then we have a good amount of Deborah Levy. This book, Hot Milk, is fiction. It's deceptively strange. It feels like summer vacation, but then you get to the end and it's a little odd in a good way. These are a trio of memoirs. My favorite is Real Estate, My Year of R&R, Daphne du Maurier, Hilary Lecter. I read, what's it called? Terrace Story this year. I liked it, but Temporary I feel is much better. So if you haven't read her before, I would start with this one. Can't go wrong with Tove Jansson. And then from here over is a lot of fiction that's in translation from Spanish to English. So Fernanda, I never remember how to say this, Melchor. I believe she's Mexican. These books are so dark. This one is, like dark of spirit and humid. And this one is like dark of spirit and like brackish water. Really good, but heavy. Yuri Herrera, I think also Mexican, and Signs Proceeding is my favorite of the two. Clarice Lispector, Brazilian, so that's from Portuguese. The Hour of the Star, this is the 100th anniversary edition, I think, and it's gorgeous. It has all these stars on it. It's very good. I believe Amparo is Mexican. I love the name Amparo. Yes, Mexican. I wanted to have a daughter named Amparo. Carmen, Mexican. Ariana, Try My Love, I read this year, is Argentine. Same thing with Bariloche by Andres Neumann. Argentine, I read that this year. Mariana Enriquez, Argentine. I believe Juan Jose Ser is Argentine, and I love this book. And then Javier Marias is excellent as well, and he is Spanish. You can't really go wrong with literature, with fiction in translation, in my opinion. I feel like there's just a more careful attention paid to the detail of the language and the way it's written, which is what I enjoy when I read. I know not everyone reads for that. So, also good books. We have The Book of Goose, Very Cold People, My Nemesis. I read those last year. My Work, just read this year. I have read The Lover by Marguerite Duras before, but I want to reread it again. Pond, I still really like, but it got demoted. It used to be up there. And I just put it here for now. Everything is Mutable. These are plays. I love The Antipodes most than Jonathan the Flick. The Antipodes is about a writer's room that you don't know much about, trying to come up with some kind of story and telling lots of anecdotes about monsters and myth in the process. It's so good. Some poetry. This is not all the poetry I have, but it's what's on this shelf right now. I'm trying to read more poetry this year. And here are my Italian books. So, Racconti Italiani are just short stories in Italian that were curated and introduced by Giumpa Lahiri, who wrote Dove mi trovo and In altre parole. This is the first book I read in Italian. Then we also have some Natalia Ginsburg, Familia, and È stato così, which I forget how they translated this in English. It's something very different, like the dry heart, maybe? Something like that. A little candle from Alaspa in the scent Mosul Bamboo. And my Rubik's Cube. Here's Mrs. Dalloway, which I really want to reread. Some John Ashbery poetry and some Jane Austen. Then we have my to be read section, my TBR. Although this is a catch-all journal and this is my main journal, then it's TBR. So The Apple in the Dark, The Diary of Anais Nin. I've read it, I want to reread it. And my ex, well, I lost a lot of books in the mail a long time ago now. And so my very, very good friend sent this to me to replace this series, which is a 7-book series. She just got me the first one. And then my ex, this year for my birthday, is sending me the second one. And then I just need 5 more to complete it. So Edinburgh, A Room of One's Own I've read but want to reread. Come Madre, I don't know why. I'm excited about this book, but I haven't read it in like years and years. I really need to read it. The Pumpkin Eater, Diving Pool I've read, but I want to reread. This is Yoko Okawa, who also wrote The Memory Police, which is up here, if you'll remember, right there. It is a trio of novellas, and I just love that. Then some more Deborah Levy and some more Marina Taye. This book is called Ludivine, and I believe it's out of print, so I bought this one used. And it was an old library book, which I love, but I hate the library book covers, the way they packet them, so I took off the dust jacket. Alright, this shelf I would call my like artsy fartsy fiction shelf, I guess, but that's not to cut any of these down. Like, I love these books, and the label doesn't hold true all the way across. Like, I don't know, like Sally Rooney is not artsy fartsy, you know. But some of the weirder books I've read and loved are here. Let's go closer. Read Biography of X last year. Matrix, about a badass nun. I'll just point out a few that I think are extra artsy fartsy, maybe. So, Amy Bender, The Butterfly Lampshade. Almost nothing happens. These beetles and butterflies of her memory kind of come to life. She spends a lot of time going to yard sales to find stuff to resell, and it's excellent. The End of Days has interstitials in it where the character dies, but then in the next part it's as if they didn't die, they're brought back to life in a way. It's really beautiful. This is just a very good book. A High Wind in Jamaica. A bunch of spoiled British kids get stuck on a pirate ship, basically. Renata Adler's speedboat is super fragmented if you're into that. This is just a very good Russian novel. Maybe you've not heard of it, but I loved it. A School for Fools. And I like the cover a lot, even though it's very old school. Terrace Story, as mentioned. Just some beautiful books. Kind of watery, really concerned with the light, etc. Would be Light, Madeline is Sleeping, Territory of Light, Dreams, and like a quality like this. Panics by Barbara Molinard. I read this past year. This is a writer who Marguerite Duras really enjoyed and saved and protected the work of. Sweet Days of Discipline, can't go wrong, highly recommend. Same thing with Bonjour Tristesse, highly recommend. I liked The Lying Life of Adults. Some strange books here that I liked, but very strange. Like Sprawl is just about suburban sprawl, and in a lot of it, it's cataloging the excess of suburbia. Sally Rooney, not artsy at all. I like Convo better than normal people. I'm not really interested in reading Beautiful World, Where Are You, to be honest. Assembly and Lydia Davis. Okay, then we gotta go to this low shelf. Let's see. This is, all my shelves have a rule, but they're also kind of mishmashy. Yeah, so here's some tarot, and then some essay work. Although this is an art reference called Interaction of Color, about how different colors play against each other in context and in conversation. Portrait of a Marriage is about Vida Saxville West, who is one of the love interests of Virginia Woolf, and it's about her marriage to her husband. And I haven't read it in ages, maybe 10 years, but I loved it. This I really enjoyed. Love. No, but really there's good work in all of these collections. Here's another art reference book. You might have seen it before. It's different color combinations based on combinations made by a kimono designer, and they're really beautiful and often surprising to a Western eye. Some Japanese folklore and some literary theory on Chinese poetic writing and some literary history on Chinese reversible poems. This is a graphic novel, and so is this. I read Spa this year. It's this spooky spa in the middle of nowhere, maybe Sweden, I don't know. And lots of creepy characters and lots of murky pools, and it's so fun. Then here are some more language books that aren't Italian. So, Spanish book, Mariana Enriquez, Nuestra Parte de Noche, or Part of the Night, or Our Share of the Night, I think they translated it. And then this book by Nora Lang, who wrote People in the Room. I don't have it here, it got lost in the mail. But People in the Room, translated into English, is so good. If you read the synopsis and it sounds like something you might enjoy, you should definitely read it. But I got this 45 Days and 30 Sailors in Spanish. Haven't read it yet. Pedro Páramo by Juan Rulfo. These two women are Argentine. He is Mexican. And then we have a little Françoise Sagan, who wrote Bonjour Tristesse. I got one in French. Then, finally, I'm trying to make like tarot capsules. So 2 or 3 decks that I want to use over the course of a month or 3 months, so a season. Right now, I've really been into Oracle of the Radiant Sun, which was a birthday gift from my partner's parents. So far, the system is like, so it makes so much sense. I love it. This is Pagan Otherworlds by Uzi, and this is just a Rider-Waite deck with more wintry or autumnal coloring called Radiant Wise Spirit. So that is my bookshelf. I'll take you up and then I will say goodbye. So here here's what it looks like all together. Artsy fartsy, books I loved, books I loved more, and my favorites. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, if you are interested in seeing other shelves in my house, like our sci-fi shelf or our living room shelf, you can find that on my Patreon later this week. I hope you're doing super, super, super well. I'll talk to you very soon, and until